So, Reef Beef is all about the coming together of friends. And as we do so around friends, I don't withhold any of the amount of vocabulary that I have. So, some of that vocabulary could be considered adult in nature. So, get with the program. And this is Reef Beef.
My name is Richard,
My name is Ben Johnson.
and today on a very special Reef Beef, we're going to talk about how many subs we have on YouTube and how that's critical to life, diamond rings, nutrients, sodium hydroxide, and ventilation, and maybe even more. This episode of Reef Beef is sponsored by Champion Lighting and Supply
Powered by PolypLab.
and sponsored by saltwateraquarium.com. Welcome to Reef Beef. Ben, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. We're recording this kind of mid-holiday, which keeps everything wintergreen that we mentioned that. So it's a little tired, but it's been really nice being at home. I'm looking
St.
forward.
Patrick's Day will do that to you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the new to April.
Lucky and eating a bowl of Lucky Charms. That's what you're supposed to do.
Oh, good. No, that's Popeye. That's Popeye.
Yeah. Man, don't mix your cartoons.
Any reefing stuff? Well, actually, the first thing I want to do is to say we hit 3,000 subs on YouTube.
I don't know what that means. I mean, that's good.
No. I mean, well, it's we avoided jumping on the likes and subs. What is subscription chain?
Yeah.
That's not really what we're all about. Which is nice not to be on that train, because I think that train leads you to doing things that are not what this show is about. You know, if you're trying to get more likes, you're doing things for likes, and we're not doing things for likes. We're like what Joel used to say about Mystery Science Theater 3000. We don't think about who's going to get these jokes. We think the right people are going to get these jokes.
Yeah.
So the right people are going to find this show and like it. And it's very cool that the reefing world seems to be very much unsiloed right now. So it's totally great that people check out other shows, people check out our show, and people hang out in different places. That's what it's about. You get different things from different communities. We're not one big homogenous pile of duty. We're a whole bunch of different disparate piles of duty.
Yeah, we have corn and carrots and all sorts of stuff in there.
Yeah. 3K subs though is nice, just because it makes it time for you to come back on your promises of that we were going to get at 18,000 subs, 1,800 subs, and 2,500 subs. So now it's 3,000. You've got to shave your chest, put the chest hair in some resin, and send it to a beefer. So
I am.
So you have.
But let's not talk about it before we do it.
Yeah, I'm just reminding you to do it, and I'm going to remind you every show until it's done.
You know, half of those subs are my friends and family.
You don't have 1,500 friends and family.
That is true.
Yeah. You got more than me though, so I'm sure.
Maybe by.
But anyway, and I don't want to say that the subs are nothing. The subs are kind of, they do help with our metrics in the sense that it does put Reef Beef in front of more eyes. Although we want qualified leads, not bulk leads. But it does get it out there, and that's always nice, because there are more people, I think, who would be interested in the show if they know about it.
Oh, Richard.
Ben,
I have a challenge for the watcher or the listener.
what could it possibly be?
My challenge is if you like this show, don't just wait around for the new ones to come out, because this is episode 131. What does that mean? That means we have 131 episodes, and if you hadn't seen or listened to them all, go back in time. We'll wait for you.
Yeah, we'll be here waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go back, because with this show, unlike other shows, the more in time you go back, the better we have done.
Yeah.
Which is not true at all, but it sounds good. No, but we have a bunch of other funny stuff if you go on and like stuff, and it's still go and comment. I don't know. Let's go back in time and comment.
Yeah, and hopefully informative stuff, not just funny stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
but funny and informative. That's
But
what
if it can be informative and funny at the same time, that's the golden goose, right?
the golden goose that lays the poopy egg. We were recently on our friend Salem at Reef Builders did a Reef recapathon with Chris Meckley, and they were on for like 12 hours straight live.
Oof.
And had a bunch of different guests, and we were on it, and it was pretty fun. And I gotta say that it was pretty fun. I like talking to those guys. And they had raffles and stuff. And just to be a jackass, I entered the raffle and I wrote, my name was Rich Wants Free Stuff.
Yes.
Because I figured Remy, who was the guy in the chair for the show, would go, oh, well, that's Rich. We're not going to give him something, even though there's no reason why I shouldn't win something.
But it had the opposite effect.
Yeah. So while we were on, I said they were about to do the who won that hour.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, did Rich Wants Free Stuff win something? And Remy was like, what? What? I won like an Orphec light, their new big light, which is really exciting, actually, because I did say, well, I wouldn't buy that. And I didn't mean it like I wouldn't buy that. I meant that it's out of, I've got lights that I like. And, it takes something crazy for me to want to try a new light like the Atlas. It's a crazy kind of new thing. And so I wanted to try that. So I got one of those. Otherwise, I'm kind of set on lights for now. I'm not looking for lights.
Yeah,
so
what? Somewhere there's someone that was watching that's like, dude, I needed new lights for my Reef. And you just swiped them. I think you should feel bad.
I do feel bad, but I also feel good because I'm excited to see this light and play with it. So it's like, it's not that I wouldn't buy it because it's just not on my radar as something to buy. So winning it's very cool. And so this is what's happened with it. It's already like 2 days later, it was sent, but I had it sent to Jim Graham.
Okay.
Because Jim Graham wanted to play with it and see what it's all about. And that's really exciting. And I'm going to get it back and I'm going to try it out and see. It looks like a cool light. I think I'd like to play with it on my new anemone tank, I think. If it's great, I'll keep it. And if it's not great, we'll raffle it off here or send it on to somebody else. So my idea of raffles is changed a little bit. It's like, oh, that's a way to get stuff I wouldn't normally be shopping for if I can win it. I mean, why should I ever win anything? And if I don't use it, we'll just pass it on. So I'm kind of excited.
It's called Rich's Used Goods.
Yeah, that's right.
There might be some wires hanging out of it and a diode doesn't work, but what do you want for free?
And it might be a bitchin' light. It seems to have some spectrum stuff that may be really interesting. So I'm looking forward to playing with it. So that's all. I didn't want it to live that I was like, well, I wouldn't buy that because that's not how I meant it. So now that I've over explained that.
Next time we do something like that, I'm gonna enter as well as Ben's looking for free shit. We'll both go
and I think I'm gonna start entering all raffles that you don't need to be present to win.
Yeah.
Because that seems like a ridiculous thing to do.
Because why be present?
You have count years.
SaltwaterAquarium.com. 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 It's the place to get your saltwater aquarium supplies, children.
Yeah, they've been supporting the show since before it was a show, and they still are supporting the show. I think that's amazing. I bought some food from them. I bought some more food, and I ordered it, and they shipped it, and it was here like in 2 days. Shipped the same day I ordered it. Why?
Why? Is that grandfather still working there? He's chained into the closet.
Even if he's not, they've stuffed his body with animatronic devices to keep him working. Him working.
He's like an old pizza joint. He's like an animatronic mouse that just moves packages.
And I ordered that from the app while on the toilet.
And they were waiting in a van outside of they're like, what's Richard going to order? And they're like, quick, good. And they just ran to your door.
Incredible. So if you want that kind of service, check out saltwateraquarium.com. Ben, who should they check out?
They should check out saltwateraquarium.com, of course.
There you go.
You have count years.
So. Richard, what's going on in your large world?
This 40-gallon cube I have that I was using from Flamboyance, I am now making an anemone tank.
Oh, well, what happened to the Flamboyance, though?
Well, they lived out their lives and died.
Oh, that's true. They don't live long.
No, 8 to 12 months. And I got a new him Frenchie anemone, and I've got
The
some
green
more.
one that stings real hard.
Yep, and I got some more that should be on the way, and I'm looking for some more. One of them is not doing well, and I'm a little sad about that, so I'm looking at options to treat it. And then I've also got back here, oh, which you can't see because I have a
Yeah.
background on. I have a Magnifica up there, so I'll probably go in the anemone tank too. So I'm excited. You know, I aquascaped it for anemones, and I've got flow going in it, and I'm kind of excited to be playing with the little tank. I may be replacing my tubs in the back for spawn with glass tanks, so I can use them for the whole year. And then I got to see what's going on here. Like I said last time, talking to Walt Smith, and in the next couple of weeks, I'll probably get 2 or 3 species of coral from Fiji to spawn next season. And I'm looking forward to that. We might be 3 because he was like, "Oh, too bad this one's not on your list because it's really awesome." And I'm like, "Well, if it's really awesome, I want that species too."
Boy, what a car salesman.
So, because why not? Because I'm going to do it differently, right? I'm going to get the corals early. I'm not going to get gravids, and we'll see what happens next year. The stress of getting gravids is too much. Let's get the corals, keep them happy all year, and get them to spawn. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. Anything else going on? Anything else going on? We'll talk about it later. It's something else that I was playing with. What about you? Anything bizarre happen?
My truck stalled out at a
Oh, I
client's
heard
house.
him. I saw.
Like
What happened?
What was it, like 1 or 2 days right before Christmas? And it would crank, but it wouldn't turn over. And I was like, what?
At a
So
client's house.
Yeah, at a client's house, like 40 minutes away from my house. He was out of town. I told him, he was like, no, that's cool. I won't be back until the 26th. So, and then, it's just total bad timing. So like I could have got a code, one of those code things and go there and hook it up and see what it was doing. But, I got all wrapped up in I got 3 kids, so I had to do Christmas. And then finally, on the day after Christmas, I got my car insurance is like a premium, whatever. And so it's included like a free tow a couple times a year. So I got it towed from there. And when the tow truck was dropping it off at my house, the last couple days, I didn't, of course, work on Christmas, but I used my wife's little SUV to go around and clean tanks. So it had me out of pocket a little bit. I could replenish things and fill up ATOs, but I wasn't really in a water changing situation. But so the tow truck driver drops it off and he goes, "What was wrong with it?" And I goes, "It wasn't started." And he goes, "Yeah, it does." And so it started it to like roll it off of there. And then a couple days ago, I drove it and cleaned tanks in close. Now I've been trying to figure out what the heck it was. I think it was something called a crankshaft position monitor, but
Yeah,
I'm too afraid to go far away without really. It's just like an aquarium, like something was malfunctioning and then you go and it's like, well, it's working, but I don't know what happened. Like that's an uneasy place because I'm like, I need to know what happened. So I'll figure that out.
I think and how does that relate?
Relief.
How does that relate? No, I guess it doesn't. Who cares?
It does, because I was running around cleaning stuff in a little SUV, and I guess to people who do what I do, if your transportation around between clients is chief concern.
So what are you going to do? Are you going to take it apart? You're going to have someone look at it? You're going to just go, well, whatever.
I'll take it somewhere and have them read the code, see if there was any code that says what it was. And it's only a 2017, so it's not like it's an old beat up truck.
Right. Well, good luck with that.
And if anyone knows what it was from just a couple simple sentences, let me know down in the comments.
I think it was that you poured salt water in the windshield wiper fluid.
Yeah. And it was also...
Have you done that? I hear it cleans your windows really well.
I did, and it was so great. And then I also put a banana in the tailpipe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
You have cow ears.
You have cow ears.
Champion Lighting and Supply. Champion Lighting and Supply. Champion Lighting and Supply. When am I ever going to get paid for these jingles?
When you send invoices.
Oh, that's true.
You freak. Champion Lighting and Supply. This is I love Champion Lighting and Supply because they stuff my box with what is this stuff called?
It
cardboard.
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 They
It's
stuff your box with cardboard.
They repurpose the cardboard, and it's awesome. That's what stops stuff from breaking when they ship it to you. I've been going through their blue line tweezers, and I really like the super long ones. And here's a size of medium ones, and I like them a lot as well. And as soon as Todd tells me that they're back in stock, I'm going to order some more because I really like them, and they got this cool blue color. What do you like about
Beautiful.
Champion Lighting and Supply?
I get, as a maintenance company, I have a wholesale account with them. So if you're a store or a maintenance company, realize you can open up a wholesale account, and that's where I get the majority. If you order over $400, which as a maintenance company or store is very easy to do, is it's free shipping. So
Free shipping.
look to them and get your dry goods from there.
And you'll get a Reef Beef sticker in your order now.
You will.
Go check them out, Champion Lighting and Supply.
You have cow ears.
You have cow ears.
I moved some more stuff into my cabinets outside from under the
Man,
house.
you're like a cabinet moving fool.
It's and I gotta say, so now out there is all of the pumps, almost all of the peristaltic pumps that move fluids around and dose things and things. They're all in a cabinet. The DI is out there. The carbon is out there in GFO if I did it. Yeah. The lanthanum is out there. I moved the CO2 cylinder out there a little while ago. And then the other day I moved the calcium reactor out there,
Oh, wow.
which I may double up. I have another calcium reactor, and I realized, why don't I just use the other calcium reactor and make it dual chamber just by running them together?
Yeah.
I can't see why that wouldn't work.
Two different brands though, right?
Yeah, but it's just connected by a line, right? Who cares?
Yeah.
And I also moved out the my caulk doser contraption I made. And I had to go out there and add calcium reactor media the other day, and it was just the best thing ever. I just
No crawling.
open the cabinet, pull the reactor out, turn it all off, open the bottom, pour, open where the recirc pump goes in, rinsed it through the top, right? So all the goo comes out. So it's like super easy to rinse, put it all back together, put in new media, put it in, and there, happy as Larry. And the other thing that's cool is that I'm running that calcium reactor on the Hydro Sol now. And the Sol does 300 mil a minute or an hour or what, a minute. So
Yeah.
it fills up much faster than it did. Oh, by the way, when I went to move the calcium reactor out, the conveyor, the tubing, I'm doing this with my hand.
Yeah.
The tubing had worn through and it was leaking.
Oh, wow.
So everything's just better. So
You didn't check it now and then? That's that.
I did check it. I didn't check it in a week because now it's under the house.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you're trying to make your life easier.
It's so great to have that stuff out there, and stuff is still shifting around, but now there's all this space under the house. So a lot of the crap that's under the tanks behind me, which no one can see, and that's under the display tank, that's going to move under the house now because there's space. There's not all that equipment down there. Oh, and I put a EB832 out in the cabinets so I can control everything. So, maybe I should put, that's a good idea. I should put 2 tanks underneath the display, and that's where the spawning corals should be. Because
right underneath your display? Yeah, because there's nothing under there.
And it's already dark.
Oh, that's true.
That's a good idea.
Look at that. You just on the spot came up with a new idea.
That's a good idea. It'll be a little bit of a pain in the ass to check them, but not really. I think I have to look into that. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was I now that I like the Sol, it's like, okay, I want a replacement stepper motor and replacement tubing.
I had to look into that one because
Right.
when you on that one show where you said it, I hadn't even heard of it.
It's $300, $299. And but I can't find, Hydros doesn't have the spare parts yet on its website. So I sent them an email, it's holiday time. We'll see what happens. But it was funny. I asked, where do I get these on their Facebook page? And fucking social media is so stupid. It's so great and so stupid. Jeff answered, "Oh, it's not on their page yet, but you can email them and they'll get back to you when they can about it." It's like, great, great. So I emailed them, but then somebody's like, "Here, it's on these parts page," and it's like, it's not on the parts page. And somebody else wrote, "It's not there." And then somebody else said, "This place has it," and I said, "Where on their website? Can you show me? Because I don't believe them." And
Yeah.
then they wrote back, "Oh, well, their website's under construction. You can email them." It's like, yeah, I'm not going to
But
do
this is
that.
why social media is so fun, because then another person is like, "Hey, have you ever tried this one?" It's like,
Yeah,
dude,
no.
has
Do you run
nothing to
ozone,
do.
bro? It's like, dude, I just asked. Oh, come on, guys.
Why do I
Uh,
even?
so anyway, so that's fun. So what's the short thing? Make your life, your access to your stuff as easy if you can. And boy, I thought I had it easy, and I did in a way by having it in the crawl space for so long. But now having it out back, I don't have to bend over, and I can open the cabinets and see them right there. And I got to see if I can put some cameras in there that will be wide angle enough to show me what's going on in there. I don't know if that's going to work, but
You're just gonna do that so when I come over, you can watch me bend over.
well, I've already got that camera that your wife installed for me.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
like, "Look at his butt, dude."
Yeah. Hey, tell me about this Apex problem you had about the temperature and the pH probe.
Oh, it's still ongoing. I put in a ticket, but again, this time of the year is a bad time for expedience. But just randomly, clients' temperature and pH, I looked, and it thinks the temperature was 17 point something degrees, and it thought the pH was 1.4. And
Ah,
so, it coincided a couple days later with performing a maintenance. And I was having a hell of a time because, it sucks when first of all, it's right around Christmas, so I'm not going to get anyone on the phone for
right.
Neptune. And the thing that scared me too is I realized that his temperature is obviously related to his chiller. So if it thinks it's 17 degrees, but I've also got an Inkbird on there that sits separately, and I told him, I was like, we have no choice. You have to go in there every day and make sure that it's not crazy hot, because the way we have it set up, it's not going to tell the chiller to come on, you know.
Right.
And it's a big tank, and it's a large chiller, so I have nothing, to hook the chiller up to, and I was resetting it, and I guess I was a little confused because I went in to the little wrench symbol and went down and told it to reboot, and it was acting weird for me for a little bit. I told it to reboot, and I was communicating with you guys on the Discord, and the reboot, it wasn't making any sort of sound or pause or anything like that. And of course, as a million monkeys do, I sat there like making it reboot like 10 times in a
No.
row. And then I stopped myself. I was like, Ben, that's not your, and then you said sometimes it won't make a noise or something when you reboot, but I was used
Sometimes,
to it
especially
pausing.
if you're rebooting it a bunch of times, then it can get confused, and it can take 5 or 10 minutes for it to kind of get back everything in line from the rebooting.
Yeah.
So if you reboot it again and keep on it, then weirder things could happen. Um, so is it still like that?
It's still like that. I mean,
Yeah.
that was like on a Friday at 3 p.m. and right in the middle between Christmas and New Year's, and I went in through Neptune Apex, and I started a ticket and all that stuff, but I don't expect any sort of
Yeah.
movement on that until, early this coming week.
That's generally indicative of a few things. Either the probes aren't plugged in all the way, or the probes are bad, or the port for the probe is bad. That's generally what that is. At those numbers, they kind of go to those kind of numbers when that stuff happens.
And see, the
So,
unit is not even a year old, so that's a little frustrating, but
yeah.
I'll
Did
find
you
out.
look at the graphs and see when that happened? How long it had been like that?
Yeah, I remember I pulled them up, and but that's how I know that, because they didn't coincide with any time that I was there, and my type of clientele doesn't mess with the tank. They just tell me what something looks like.
Yeah,
So,
but I mean, you can look on the graphs and see if anything else happened. Was there a quick power outage during that time? You
oh, I
know,
guess I could put that with a graph with the power.
yeah, and you can also just look at the different graphs and see if there's anything weird on everything, on all the readings that coincide with when it started.
Yeah.
But the compare is a good way to do it because you can see. Because that's the interesting part. You know, it could have been a power outage or something else weird happened that affected the system totally. So, but I'll be interested to hear what happens because, you know, stuff happens.
You have cow ears.
You have cow ears.
Polyp,
Lab.
polyp,
Lab.
polyp.
Lab. PolypLab. It's crazy town over here.
Hey, Ben, I got an email from Phil. Ben and I like these Genesis blocks a lot.
I'm in love with them.
And we like the stand that I've got a version of that I should actually get into use. But he said they got a new version of the sand. Should we send it to Ben or Rich?
Me, damn it.
And I said, don't send it to Ben. Ben
He hates
doesn't really like PolypLab. He's a shill. He'll do any. No, I told him to send it to you. So you'll be getting that. It's coming from Canada, so it might take 3 years, but it's coming.
Yeah.
PolypLab. Why do you like to
stack them up?
Why do you like the Genesis block? Beam.
I like them because I like biomedia, and I cannot stand live rock down in a sump, and also those older companies that make biomaterials that crumble over time. Those are annoying as well. I like the Genesis block because it's very hard. I don't know what it would take to break. It's very solid, and when I create a new tank, I can just move some from an existing system to that one, and that's how I start tanks up. Not by some innocuous bottle of who knows what.
Pretty great. So check out PolypLab products wherever PolypLab products are sold.
You have cow ears.
You have cow ears.
You got a very funny story now? Because this show's fucking boring.
It's not very funny
so
to
boring.
me.
Ben, make the show less boring.
No, but listen, it wasn't that funny to me because a client texted me and said,
but you got to make this fun. Ben, you're the crazy, wacky, sir. Blood and feces. We're looking for blood and feces.
I should have never told that blood and feces story because now everything is downhill of it.
No, you told other funny stories. That's just the easiest one to remember because the blood and feces didn't come up until like 4 minutes into the story. And I was like, how did you not lead with blood and feces?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you have to have a good buildup.
Okay.
You know, a client texted me and was asking, I want you to be a little more careful with the magnetic cleaner because it looks like we have some scratches on the tank. And
damn, Ben, I thought you were professional.
Well, yeah, but it's tricky. Okay. And
it's tricky to rock a rhyme, that's right on time.
It's right on time. It's tricky. So, I said that you can't start arguing with people. So I was like, well, let me investigate what happened. But yes, ma'am, I'll, redouble my efforts, whatever.
And inside you were like, listen, motherfucker.
Yeah. I was like, come on now. So I get there and the first thing I do is you use your fingernails and to decipher whether these scratches are on the inside or the outside. Obviously, most of the time they're on the inside, but I happened to scratch them and I was like, wait a minute, these are on the outside. So I called her over, and again, in your head, this is a big client. This is a client that pays me enough to it pays my mortgage every month. And so I'm like, how do I say this? But I've been doing this for a long time. And it was like, I was like, I scratched on here and it feels like they're on the outside. Could you try that too? And she tried it too. And she's like, yeah. And I said, I think maybe you're wearing a ring that maybe did it. And she showed me her hands. And I said, can you show me how you're cleaning the tank? And the way she did it, she has her hands sort of knurled, I guess is the word, around
like
the thing.
Claw?
Yeah. No, don't say that about my client. My client does not have claw hands. They're very beautiful hands clad with diamond rings. I have never once in my life seen this, but I swear to God, we both figured out what happens as she was scratching the tank with her diamond ring. So while I felt relieved to not be in the crosshairs of that one, it does suck to have a tank that has some distracting scratches on it. But again, at least I didn't do it. And I just kept quiet, and then it was her saying, oh, I'm so sorry, and blah, 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 and yeah. And she was embarrassed and whatnot, but
did you get all misogynist? We were like, I understand your brain is smoother than mine.
Yes.
And little lady, so it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she put on a Michael Jackson glove completely covered in diamonds and just scratched the tank.
Was she contrite, or was she like, oh, yeah?
Well, she was quiet for a little bit and she was like, I'm sorry for blaming you. And I was like, no, it's okay. And I was like, let's just, either have your husband do it or take off your ring or turn it the other way or something. But now she has, it's a beautiful, beautiful reef tank. And now there's like swirlies on it that are distracting.
And it's glass, right?
Yeah. And you're not, they do make kits for buffing scratches in glass, but they'd have to be extremely light glass, and I don't find it's not.
Yeah,
I've tried it before.
You
It's
can do
not
with
feasible.
cerium oxide, but what often happens is then you get an optical glooby gloob.
Yeah.
It becomes distorted and it's worse than the scratch.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that's good. I'm glad it wasn't you.
I guess it was funny because then I punched her in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then danced on her corpse.
I did. And then
she's
I put her bones in the reef and put Cyphastria on there. And now the husband can't even tell where she's at.
and she still pays you. Yeah.
Yes, because it's auto draw.
I got a beef.
Rich, show me your beef.
I hate Mahano anemones.
Dude, join the crowd, my dude.
Just somebody needs to come up with a predator for them. It's really dumb.
That Mahano wand works okay.
It's so slow though.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, if I would knuckle down and attack Mahanos, every other week for 3 months, I'd probably have them under control.
What do you feel like is worse, Mahanos or Aptasia?
Mahanos.
Yeah, Mahanos, I don't know. I'm so on the fence. And I have both in tanks right now. Even, I try to kill these things all the time, but it's a little tricky when it's like not your tank and you're doing maintenance.
Yeah.
But man, Mahanos, Aptasia can too, but when Mahanos start dividing, it's like, wait, what? They just go out of control.
Yeah, and you can do something about Aptasia systemically. There's a bunch of fish that, that will likely eat them. But, most, Klein's butterflies and stuff, like I'm tempted to get a Klein's and put it and move it around in tanks, but they can also go after other stuff.
Yeah, they're nippy.
They're nippy.
At least they're hardy though.
Yeah, and sometimes they don't do it, but man, I'm getting sick of them. I've been using sodium.
Aptasia works okay.
Yeah, but you gotta be on it. I used sodium hydroxide on them the other day.
Oh yeah.
And I went nuts. I used too much and raised my pH to 8.7.
Oh wow. You pulled a bin.
Yeah, and then it dropped down within the hour though, but
okay.
I got carried away with the carpet bombing. Also,
do you feel like how bread and butter? No, like I wouldn't use sodium hydroxide on Aptasia because I feel like it would just make more.
I don't know, man. Aptasia I use biological controls for, and that seems to really have worked. So I don't know. I don't think so. I never, really had that. I've used it on them. I like the hydroxide. It kills green star polyps too. It kills algae. It kills everything. It's great.
You know what freaks me out is I hear people say Majano.
Yeah, you should punch those people in the diamond ring.
Yes, with a diamond ring.
That kind of stuff used to bug me, but people say whatever. I mean, people call a single anthias an anthea. So, what are you going to do?
Hey, Richard, can you take a look at this anthid?
Oh my God. I've got an anthea that's sick. Oh my God. But what, do we really care? Do we really care? Is that the thing to care about? I don't think it is.
If you're feeling tightly wound, if you get tired of people asking you questions, you could just give them a swift throat punch.
A swift throat punch. But why would you want to give anyone a throat punch?
Like when I used to work in stores and people would come in and ask for cichlids.
Freshwater cichlids?
Yeah, or allergy eaters.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? Well, I think making fun of those people is just like,
I'm not talking making fun of them. I'm talking about a throat punch.
Oh, okay.
It's like a quick, like corrective measure.
Okay. But why are you, just because you know how something should be pronounced, why does that make you better than anybody enough to throat punch them?
Well, when you work in a place, when you hear it all day long, a throat punch is sometimes I'm not going to do that because if I do that, I'm advocating violence and I'm all about peace, man.
I used to care a lot about people getting stuff right because I had this idea, if you keep the small things right, people are more likely to keep the other things right, and people just don't know. But now that the hobby is so big and filled with people who think who are told that it was easy and they should be involved,
I mean,
it's
that's a lot of throat punching, and
yeah,
throat punching can land you in jail.
it can. Correcting stuff. Well, I mean, that's the whole reason for the show and the Discord. It's just a Sisyphusian task. On the Discord, we have instead of Facebook or social media, it's where you take the picture of the thread you were going to respond to,
Yeah.
and you type in your response, and then you take a screenshot, and then you delete your response, and then you post that onto this thread. So you get the feeling of joy of responding to something dumb, but you don't actually make social media worse by picking a fight that's not worth having.
Yeah, it allows you to throat punch people without throat punching people.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I don't know how we got on this topic. Mahanos.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, right. I do like the sodium hydroxide. It's pretty good. I was doing the potassium hydroxide. It's pretty good. I got some of the sodium hydroxide on me, and it got very slippery very fast, but it didn't hurt, just a little bit. And I rinsed it very quickly. And just don't get it on you and you're fine, I think. But it will kill stuff like kaboom, dead.
It ate part of my truck off.
It's bad stuff. So if you use it, be super careful, which is why I want someone to invent a robot that kills Mahanos for you.
A nanobot that's filled with sodium hydroxide.
Yeah. Or, man, I just hate them so much.
Just throat punch them.
But I'm also just being lazy. Look,
so basically, let me recap what you just said.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I don't like Mahanos. You better say it right. Oh, I'm lazy.
Yeah, I see 4 Mahanos right now.
Oh my God! Don't focus, Richard. Don't focus on them.
In the Anemone tank.
They're with their manuses. They're probably laughing at you.
I got to kill them. Kill everything.
Throat punch. What else you got, Richard?
Nutrients. You were going to say something about nutrients?
Oh, that's
you had a consultation. You had a consultation. Congratulations, Ben.
Yay!
Because I know you killed your best client because they were scratching up their tank, and now you need
after the throat
work.
punch, I did some jail time, and then when I got out of jail, someone, because they saw the article about me throat punching a client,
yeah,
I'd be a good person to talk to. No, actually, there was a local, and I didn't attend it, but there was like a local, like a aquarium trade show thing here in Houston, and I don't know if you know this, but I have a few friends.
You have 1,500.
1,500 friends that are subscribed to the show. No, and so like a couple, this one guy was going around ask who locally would be able to like help him out with his aquarium, and so a couple of my friends that were running a booth said, "Oh, look at this Ben guy," and so anyways, this guy calls me, and I go out there, and he's been a hobbyist for like 25 years. And he had a nice little setup, sort of like I'd say about 150-gallon cubes set into his wall with nice carpentry and all this kind of stuff. But it's funny, as I was looking through it, like you could tell that this reef tank had been there for a while because, and it's not to make light of it, but the way it was set up and how it was appointed and plumbed and everything like that would have been like super hot shit in the late 90s. But so it felt a little dated how it was set up. And you could tell
it was set up, it was like drilled through the bottom or what?
Yeah, all sorts of stuff like that. And
that's great.
A good setup and everything, but right away, he had called me in there basically I want to sort of take the structure down and reset up and re-aquascape it. But, it's funny, I go in there and I'm looking at it and I'm like, besides that you need some coral trimming, like, honestly, I wasn't trying to talk myself out of a job, but I was like, it's not the aquascaping. I noticed right away that every coral in there was bleached out and sucked in. Like he had a huge calastria, candy cane coral, huge one. but all the polyp, in a healthy colastria, you don't see the skeletal structure. You just
Calistrea. I'm going to punch you in the throat.
colastria, colastrea, tomato. I'm going to call it qualastria now.
So it was you could see the septa in the skeleton instead
Yeah,
of just
and
flesh.
everything on and on. Chalices that, and what I was noticing too that was strange is where a coral had grown sort of into the shade, it was a little more normal looking, but where it was out in the light was bleached and withdrawn. So, during this whole process, I started on one side, and this was like a cube that's sort of like a peninsula, so you had to walk around it. I'm looking at
Peninsula.
everything, and I'm like, what?
Peninsula.
What'd I
Peninsula.
say? Peninsula?
Peninsula.
Don Shula. Peninsula. How do you say it?
Peninsula.
Penisula.
Penisula.
Penisula. God, if I could just get through a fucking story.
Yeah, well, you can't. Now you
So we
know what
get
it's
a-
like. Now you know
Oh
what
my
it's
God.
like when I'm talking.
Yes, which is right now. So we get around to the side of it, and I can finally open it up, and it's well plumbed and everything like that. But it was sort of old school, but because he had a GFO reactor cranking, and right next, and there's still a lot of people that are running GFO, but right next to it, he had solid carbon dosing, and for me, decidedly, that's done with and put away and walked away from.
Was it a tumbler or was it
Yeah,
a
and
So
I
if
was
you
like,
don't know what that is, if you're listening, uh 10, 12, 15 years ago, they had these bio pellets they were called, and it's solid carbon, and you tumble it slowly or run water through it slowly, and it sheds bacteria, and then you skim them out as the bacteria eats that stuff. And then you skim them out, and that's supposed to export. And it was all the rage, but nobody knew if it actually worked. It was just a mind story. And then the Million Monkeys played with it, and
it just went
it's kind
away.
of a pain in the ass, and it went away.
Well, I looked at that, and I wasn't in a capacity there where I had like a nitrate or phosphate test kit or anything to look at that. But, the first thing I noticed, man, his corals are bleached and withdrawn. Then I looked to, he had barely any fish. He had like 4 fish in there, small fish. And then I go and I see the GFO and the solid carbon dosing. And I told him, I was like, besides what you called me here for, like, I'm wondering if you're taking too much out of the water. Then this system used to run a halide, so the top of it, when you open the cabinet, was like cavernous, the way they used to be for if you're running a halide, so you could have the room for ventilation and all that. But I looked up on the cabinet, and he's running one of those blue box Ozotech, ozonizer. And I was like, wait, you're running ozone? And he goes, oh yeah, he runs it, what do you say, an hour a day. And then right away I was like, ozone, GFO, solid, biopellets, barely any fish. I was like, I'm not testing it, but you probably have like zero nitrate, zero phosphate. And but he had 2 Ecotech Radions, so he had bright light, and he had a calcium reactor, and he had everything there for him to be growing. But, and I was like, how often do you feed your fish? And when's the last time you had more fish than this? And he just had a super, super light fish load. He was just destroying the nutrients, you know? So what I told him, and I told him, I said, hey, it's dangerous. But what we're going to do anyways, we're going to be pulling a lot of these corals out anyways and starting over new corals. But I want to do this without, he called me there as an expert. What I don't want to do is just rip out stuff and change stuff, and then it turns into like a hair allergy jungle. And I'm telling him, be patient, be patient. So I'm trying to be very careful how I'm escorting him through this. But I told him, first off, just don't, if you're running the ozonizer for 1 hour a day, just don't turn the ozonizer on again. Okay. Then I told him with the GFO, just let it play out. Just keep running it. But maybe after 3 months, then we'll just discontinue it. Because I figure like the GFO would just slowly taper off what it's doing anyways. And I didn't want to just tell him, just turn it off.
Yeah.
Again, I have to swap out these corals with healthier corals and make sure that balance stays, for the corals anyways. And then with the solid carbon dosing, what I told him is, we'll pull half of them out when I come see him, and then a couple months later, just discontinue that. I wanted him to discontinue his war on nutrients sort of slowly.
That's a good idea.
But yeah, it was so weird because it took me a second to take all that in, and I was like, it's hard to have a smoking gun if you're not testing stuff. But I was like, obviously, there's a nutrient
Yeah, he's doing too much.
too much.
That's the problem with, not having a saltwater thumb. If you're just going, well, it's better if I do this, this, and this as a recipe, and then you go, wait a minute, if unless you know what to look for, you can be in real trouble real quick.
Well, and I'm not dissing the guy at all. He
am.
seemed like yeah, Richard is. He seemed like a very dedicated dude, but it does show you a difference that can happen when you say like, "Oh, I've been in the hobby for 25 years." It doesn't and it doesn't even matter if someone like me says I've been doing it for 30 years. All of us could be doing it wrong, you know. But when you do this for a living, one would hope that you're sort of paying more attention and have more experience and have seen stuff. But I just, of course, I didn't say anything to the guy, but I'm just thinking in my head, like, yeah, you've been doing it for 25 years, but you didn't stop to figure out, he cared enough to find me and call me out there, but it's like,
No,
you
no,
know,
throat punch this guy.
throat punch right in the.
Not cool.
I tried.
I
to
don't
take
care
a
if
good
anyone who asks for help,
throat punch.
throat punch.
Yeah, help yourself.
Yeah,
When-
bootstrap, motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah, help, help, please.
No. Ugh.
Get off.
We're gonna
the floor.
change our new segment. Throat punch.
Throat punch. Yes, throat.
So
punch.
wait, are you going to help this guy out more, or
No, I am.
okay?
I think it was weird because, obviously how I am, I was angling for like, hey, just have me come out, do your tank, and you do whatever you do. But I could also tell, even though he couldn't figure this out, he's like this is weird to say. He's a dedicated hobbyist in that he enjoys messing with the tank, but that's where it gets confusing to me because it's like you have an obvious problem and I figured it out in about 10 minutes. And you're a dedicated hobbyist. You should just have me take care of the tank. But what he wants is me to come out once a quarter.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine, but he should just let me do it for him.
Yeah, but he wants you to consult, and as long as you're happy with the money you get for that,
Yeah.
I think that's great. That's like what we were talking about somewhere recently about, being a reef coach, reef life coach.
Yeah.
But it's got to be worth it to you to do.
Oh,
usually,
totally.
usually people want a free mentor, which I understand, but after doing that for 100 years, it gets
The other
gets
thing
trying.
that now and then you can find someone like that, but man, this sort of thing has happened to me so many times in my life. It's like when you do something for free, you end up sort of blowing it off over time.
Right, because you just go, I don't want to do this.
I'm doing this for free.
Throat punch.
Throat punch.
Yeah, no, eventually doing stuff for free gets trying, and
Yeah.
and that's fair. I think that's fair. I think it's fair.
I wasn't able. I wanted to take a cool picture of this to show on the podcast, but the camera wise, I couldn't get the effect. It's crazy because he has a giant, I guess I want to call it a stand of bird's nest coral that
Yeah.
starts on the back wall where the return is and comes out like 2 feet.
Cool.
And it has an entire hole through it. And I asked him, I was like, did you manicure that? And it was cool though. The coral just didn't grow in this, vector where the water was flowing out. And it is deep. Like I said, it's like a 2-foot deep tunnel.
I love when that happens.
I wanted to throat punch it.
I want to kiss it. That's really cool.
I wanted to make love to it.
Make sweet love to it. Oh, here's something that's got nothing to do with us, but
Oh, great.
you know that video of the cow licking my wife?
Yeah.
That it's got 900 on Instagram. It's got 997,000 likes.
And it's on bestiality.com.
And I was like, no, it's on Instagram. And on my Instagram, Cephhead. And I was like, I want a million likes. And because it's so weird. Because
you didn't monetize it.
I would have cared about that at one point, but now it's just funny, right?
You could be rolling in dough for a cow licking video.
Yeah, and it's not even my video, it's my daughter's video that I get credit for. And I was looking at the metrics and I was like, God, 1 million, that's crazy, right? And like I said, I've got like 12,000 Instagram followers that are now very depressed because the shit I post.
Like, this is it?
Oh, look at aquariums. Who is this idiot?
Yeah.
Although, like, some stuff has like 10,000 views. But I looked at the views on this video. 37 million.
What?
Yeah.
Is it like playing over in Azerbaijan?
I don't know. I think maybe people think it's porn.
You know?
37 million views. I
That's
didn't
a
even
lot of
I didn't
that's
even
like 37 million disappointed people.
Yeah, I no, well, they liked the video, but
And that's all.
I didn't even think to check on views. And I was like looking at Instagram and it's got all the little pictures and then it's got the number in the side. And it said and I never really looked at those. And I was looking and 8,000 or whatever. And this one said 3.5 M. And I was like, what?
You're like, wait, what?
What? I mean, 35 when I first saw it, it was like 35.5 M. And I was like, what? So that's kind of
the
fun.
only reason that probably like people try to make stuff go viral, but the only reason that is because didn't that start off on your child's platform?
No, that's where I posted it right there to Instagram. I was like, my friends will like this. This is kind of funny.
Oh, it just got shared like a son of a gun.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's funny. So fucking treat me with respect.
That's what it means. That's what we get with 3,000 YouTube subscribers. Is you
That's
better
right.
put
right.
Mr. in front of my name when you talk to me.
Mr. 38 million views.
Yes. So now you're more popular for a damn cow looking video than we are for Reef beef.
No, not at all. No one cares. Although people keep there's like 300,000 comments.
You should read them all.
Yeah, I have.
You stayed up
no.
all night.
Tell me about ventilation. The ventilation, this is the thing with the 2 tanks.
The 2 tanks in the wall. We did a whole show about it. It was several back. I can't remember what show number.
So it's 2 tanks in the wall.
Yeah.
They're built-ins. They're connected. The space on the top is connected or not connected?
It's not connected. And
So
I didn't install them. I was brought in to take them over, and they weren't working well because they had basically turned into easy bake ovens.
And right. So they were sealed when you closed it, and they just heated up the space in the canopy, and it heated up the tanks to like 85. And if I remember, you had them have somebody put in a ventilation fan, and that seemed to fix the problem. But now everything's dead.
It was tricky because this is a wealthy individual in an expensive house, and I just told the owner what was going on. We've got to ventilate these. You know, it sort of reminds me. It's not, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. Sometimes you want something done. You just had to be more on the board and specific about it. Because I just said, hey, man, we got to ventilate these things. So he called. It's one of those houses where he worked with a home builder. So he calls the home builder, and the home builder comes in. And I was like, yeah, I just want to ventilate these. And I wasn't specific. So he just put like 4-inch fans down below. And I didn't even tell him down below. I thought in my head, hot air rises. So put these 4-inch fans to ventilate in the attic. But even at the time I said, look, I don't do HVAC, and I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do, but you're ventilating hot, warm air into the attic. So, maybe you should call an HVAC guy and we should see what does a pro do in this situation. So all they did in the beginning is they ventilated it with the 4-inch fans. And I remember I even specifically told them like up top here. Well, I get there that next time and they ventilated the lower half. And I was like, motherfucker, like that's not what I said. And it dropped the temperatures down a little bit, but I still had to tell the client, I was like, man, that wasn't it. And like I said, even though he's wealthy, I was like, man, we've got to ventilate these with these serious inline fans. And but and don't listen to me, but I don't think you're supposed to push this stuff into an empty attic. It's warm and salty and wet, just like Reef beef.
Warm, salty, and wet.
Warm, salty, and wet. So he's like, okay. So he calls out a HVAC company. And then it got tricky because he had to ventilate. This is like one of these houses with like Mediterranean tile shingles, whatever,
On the roof?
on the roof. And I was like, the HVAC guys agreed with me. I was like, I think you're supposed to penetrate the roof.
Oh yeah,
He
you
never
are.
let me know, but I think this whole thing ended up costing like 5K or 10K or I don't know. And but so they chose the inline fan from AC Infinity that I wanted. It was 800 cubic feet per minute. But this also made me a little upset because it's not my part of the job, but I was there when the HVAC people were. And he goes, "We're going to use one fan." And I get it too, because perforating the roof costs so much. You wouldn't put two perforations. But what they wanted to do was lead both vents into the single fan and vent it out the roof. And when I saw it, I was asking the guy because I was like, because one of the vents side streams. And I was like, again, it's crazy. It's not my job, but I was like, how, it's like water or air. Follow the path of least resistance. You're side streaming that one. Don't we have something to choke the other line to make more, what if it doesn't, they don't vent evenly or something. And the guy was like, "Oh, we got it, whatever, blah blah." So they did it, and it worked. And we go down the road of like 3 months, and I noticed the tank on the right was warmer than the other one, and it bugged me. It's not too hard to get into his attic, so I go up there, and I'm looking at that side stream, and sort of how they did it is one of the vents has a larger diameter, and the one they side stream had a smaller diameter too. And
Which, which one got hotter?
the one with the smaller side stream.
Of course.
And I came down, and it's frustrating too because I'm going to talk to this guy, and he'd already spent like, I don't even know how much. And I had to tell him that it wasn't quite.
Did you just stuff some newspaper in the bigger one to reduce the input?
What I did is, because it did have a digital control, I went and cranked it up. And the reason I didn't have it cranked up is because I didn't know they're very quiet.
Yeah.
But it's right on the other side of the wall of like where he watches TV. So I was like, I don't know. So I did crank it up. Now, the one on the right was still being warmer, but before I told him, I was cleaning the tank and snooping around. Well, that original ventilation that they put down below, that fan had died. So
Wow.
while that single 4-inch fan wasn't ever going to ventilate that down where I wanted it to, they're important to pull out some of that humidity and other heat down there that wouldn't make the bigger ventilation up top just work all on its own. So I was sort of happy about this. So they used AC Infinity, and I looked on Amazon. I thought it was crazy because they used the AC Infinity 4-inch fan that had this like sort of not complicated controller, but this like stupid controller that had more wires, and they had just left it sitting on the sump, and I didn't like that either. And I remember thinking at the time, I don't want that fucking controller. I just want the fan to be on. I don't give a shit like, certain temperature or whatever. Just it's a 4-inch fan, and this guy's a millionaire. Just run a 4-inch fan like 24/7. So I looked on Amazon, and they did have a much cheaper, much more regular one. You plug right in, and it's just on.
How
So I
many
replaced.
CFM?
It's only like, it's only a 4-inch fan, so it's
It's
something
like
like.
400. It's the plastic one, right?
Yeah, but it has a fancy faceplate, like a metal faceplate.
Okay. I
Because
think I
it's
know
for
that
like
one.
aesthetics.
Yeah, yeah.
It might be 100 something CFM,
Okay.
whereas the big fan up above is 800 CFM. But so it was crazy too, because you talk about things that are perishable. Sometimes I realized with this client, with this tank, with this fan, I was like, oh, these little 4-inch fans, I need to keep an eye on them because when they croak, it doesn't quite get the tank temperature down where it needs to be. So they're sort of perishable. And boy, because you look in the old one, I pulled it out, and man, it was just covered with salty residue. So it's
Wow.
brutal. It's brutal
Wow.
on them.
Wow. I would have expected the one down low to not really be impacted by salt. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy. And I don't
Wow.
know what I'd need to do if hopefully
Oh,
the big one up top doesn't get all
maybe
corroded.
it does make sense because the water at the air down lower is cooler and denser and
Before
really
we did all
interesting.
this ventilation, one of the main problems I was having besides temperature is I'd open up the cabinet doors when I got there, and the pipes were sweating, raining.
Oh shit.
And I was like, that's a no-go. So that's like a lot of what's going now through that 4-inch
You
fan.
know, this is what I'll tell you about that I know about HVAC. You got to move more than you think you got to move.
Yeah.
The whole thing in HVAC, because when we were doing this for for the glass studio, I talked to some HVAC friends and they were like, volume. It's all volume, and it's more than you think to get real turnover going with air. And boy, oh boy, is it. It's just crazy how much air you need to move to make a real difference.
Yeah, I mean, 800 and like I'm moving like 1,000 cubic feet per minute with all
Yeah.
those fans,
Yeah.
you
Like
know, and that's
on my tank, I put a hole in that side of the house and I just put a Vornado fan against it.
uh,
And I can turn it up and down because I didn't know what I need, and I just pretty much leave it on high all the time.
yeah. But going through it,
Even in this room in the winter, if I don't have some ventilation going in here, my floors get a little damp.
ah,
So I just realized that again, because you realize it every year, and put the vent fan on, and it looks like they're drying out finally. It's crazy.
well, I'm sort of like, because maybe every couple of years I need to take the ductwork off of the big inline and see what it looks like in there. It's not incredibly expensive. It's like a couple $100, so that's not the end of the world. But
Yeah, I have a vent fan, an inline fan downstairs under the house, and I originally had, aluminum on it as a ducting. And then when I was messing around in there, I went to move the aluminum and I moved it, and it just went crumble into dust. It all fell apart. So I moved to a PVC with a spring in, 2 layers of PVC plastic bendy stuff. It's still an expandable duct,
yeah.
and there's a spring inside, and that seems to be much better, easier to route too.
This is one of those Mylar ones, so that stuff's
Oh, that might last.
yeah.
Very cool, man.
Hey, beefers, we are so in love with you. But no, the challenge that I made in the beginning of the show, I'm just asking everyone who I'm obsessed with it. If you like this show, if you're just watching the new ones that come out, go back and look at some of the old ones. Some good material there.
It's interesting stuff. We're looking at ways to get that information out. But I got to shut up about that because I don't want to promise something we can't do. But
Yeah.
it looks like something cool's coming down for that.
Oh wow.
So there you go. So thank you, hey beefers, because you're the only ones here who are listening. And if you're here and you're not a beefer, you might as well be. Oh, you know what? I got something to ask about people who beef. We had a beefer who was in the public side of the Discord for a long time. Great guy. Really enjoyed talking to him and watching his content. And then finally decided to become a member, and then got very unhappy and left.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, and it seems like they went into the social justice and reef keeping
Oh.
and didn't like some stuff that was said there. And I don't really know what's going on. So, they were very nice in the way they left, and they said, this isn't for me. So I'm, thank you. I'll still watch the show. And we appreciate that, because that's great. Not everything's for everyone. It would be nice if this person's listening. I'd like to know really what happened. Because if it's something we can change that's truly annoying to people, I will, and we agree with it and it makes sense to us, we'll make the change. It's easy enough. We're in control of it. It feels like, though, it was, I went, I'm mad I don't like what I saw on Pornhub. So, damn you, Pornhub. It's like, well, what did you expect to see on Pornhub? So it's kind of like, in a social justice and reef keeping, you're going to see stuff and you're going to see reactions to that stuff. And if you don't want to see that, scroll on by. Not everything's for everyone.
Well, and I think what he had, I had seen the response that he had, but you open a door and you're like, I don't like what's in this room, and that room doesn't have to. It's not necessarily every room in our Discord is like embodies everything that Reef Beef is.
And it's fine. I want to make that very clear. Not everything's for everyone. And his sign off was really nice. And he's, the Discord's not for him, and that's fine too. The only part that I'd like to actually understand, so I knew what would happen. So I know what happened. So so I could apologize to him. You know, he just vanished, and I'd like to, you know, reach out to him. So if you're gonna leave, I think that's great. And if you want to be super cool, let us know why and have a little discussion with us so we can have a conversation. And if we can change to better accommodate you, we'd be happy to. And if sometimes we won't. But anyway, even in his leaving, I appreciated him because it was so kind. I just would like a little more information.
He
And
throat punched you kindly.
kindly. But if you're here and you're not a beefer, you might as well become a beefer because it's cool.
So we can offend you.
Yeah. And I'm going to make Snowman mad because I'm going to say, you know, we have all kinds of different levels that you can support us at. So to go take a look at Reef Beef membership, reefbeef.com, reefbeefpodcast.com/membership. But I'm not going to tell you the different things because we did that an episode or two ago. We're being goofy. Thanks for listening to this. We'd like to thank our sponsors,
saltwateraquarium.com
Champion Lighting and Supplies,
and PolypLab.
Thank you very much. And remember, my dreams are all dead and buried. Sometimes I wish the sun would just explode. When God comes and calls me to his kingdom, I'll punch all you sons of bitches when I go. And that's Reef Beef. Have a good night. This episode was produced by Snowman and Rich Ross, assistant producer Snowflake. And thanks to our Prime and Gold level beefers, Joe's Coral Reef and Farhad, Scott C, Jim W, James B, Brittany, John W, Adam S, Robert S, Ben J, Francois C, Jason C, and Bay Area Reefers.
From cussing, should I just start it over?
No!
Oh,
Just finish it!
this is Reef Beef. God, dude. Hey, you look like an Italian high diver.
I am. You found me out.
I did. I mean, your whole life up till now has been a charade. Reef Beef Podcast.
Fucking weirdo.
I'm trapped in a meat box of emotions.
A meat box.
I'm going to cover my nipples with Reef Beef stickers.
Okay, do you have Reef Beef stickers?
I do have those, but I need to get a straight razor because I want to cut it with a straight razor. No. Oh, thank you, my son Grant. Thank you so much. Can you guys not? It's not like I'm recording or anything. But can you give me a second? I was on a roll too.
You can't see it because
You had to hold
there
it
it is.
just
Can you
right. No, now you disappeared. You hold it back up. Okay. Oh, okay. It says as if you could outrun me.
Yeah.
There it goes. Almost.
Do you know what that's from?
What is it from?
The best movie ever. Twilight.
Oh, I hate Twilight.
Fuck you. Twilight's the best movie ever.
It's so goofy.
You're wrong. You don't
If you
understand
watch it
anything.
backwards.
No.
You know what the best part of that movie is?
Are you gonna yuck my yum and shit all over my favorite movie?
The best part of the movie is the fucking end of it.
You're mean.
No, I love you and I love Twilight, Richard.
want to hear you say it.
The challenge that I made.
Squidbillies, motherfucker.
Is that from Squidbillies?
Yeah. I'll take all you sons of bitches when I go. That's it.
There you go. You have cow ears.
Oh,
Where's your other?
cow ears.
Wait, that sounds like Reggie Watts. It's lovely. You only have one horn.
It's a dairy cow, motherfucker.
Well, it's underwater. Like, and
Yeah,
how is
'cause-
it a dairy cow if it has a horn?
Reef Beef. Do you understand what the show is called?
The show is all about drowning cows in the ocean. That is
Stay warm, salty, and wet, everyone. Warm, salty, and wet.